Yo, what's up, y'all? It's coming back here again tonight with another video. I know you are probably sick of hearing me talk about Ben Simmons. I promise you I'm also sick of talking about him, but it's the biggest NBA news that's coming out right now before the season starts up in a little over a week. I promise then there'll be some other type of content, but for right now, the Ben Simmons news is the biggest thing going on, and it's because there's been another development. Ben Simmons, former All-NBA player, All-Star Defensive Player of the Year, his whole possibility of being traded, that whole saga has dominated the NBA news. And now today, Woj has said that apparently Ben Simmons, after holding out for so long, has decided to come to Philly at least. There's no reports that he's going to play a game or anything like that. But for the longest time, we didn't even know if he was going to show up in Philly. Apparently, he came to the Wells Fargo Center. He got a COVID test as his league protocol, and now I guess we kind of just see what happens. Ben Simmons is reportedly still adamant about not playing at this point, but Sixers brass think they can kind of convince him otherwise, and I wouldn't be surprised if they could, because it looks like Ben Simmons is starting to realize exactly how much money he is being fined every game that he doesn't play. He's already been fined like $1 million, and his whole bet has only lasted like 2 weeks of not going to training camp and not playing in preseason games. That's a lot of money to lose. He'd lose around 35, I think it's up to $38 million this season if he doesn't play. So we look at the timeline of things. Eastern Conference semifinals against the Hawks, Ben Simmons underperforms, and they ultimately lose that series, a series that honestly, they had no business losing. They were the better team. They should have won that series. They don't. Ben Simmons has that dunk that he doesn't take in the fourth quarter of game 7. Doesn't go for it. I was actually there live. I could not believe he didn't take that shot. And after the game, Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers are kind of like, he should have taken that shot. We don't know what to do about this situation. Sixers fans were not happy with Ben Simmons. Me being at that game, I can promise you, I've never seen a crowd turn on their player more in a live setting than I have there. Ultimately, he tells the Sixers front office in August, don't want to be here. I don't, and that was like the last time he had talked to them before today. His teammates even tried to fly out to California, meet up with him and say, hey, come back to the team. We want you in the team. And he said no. He told them, do not come fly out. I'm not going to change my mind. And now 2 weeks into the holdout, he has changed his mind. So this situation just continues to be weirder and weirder. It feels like there's 100 twists and turns. I really wouldn't have been surprised if he sat out. But of course, that's a lot of money. The Sixers called his bluff. They said, you're going to show up or we're going to keep finding you. And looks like he's showing up. Don't know if he's ever going to play a game. That would be one of the strangest games of all time if he does play a game. If he does, I live kind of close to Philly. I might have to make the trip to Philly for that game to see what that is like if he plays a home game, because I don't know if we'll ever see a player turned on more by their home fans in a setting than what we would see in Philly. First of all, Philly fans already are kind of insane, and I say that in the greatest way possible. I love Philly fans. They are kind of out of their minds, and for a guy like Ben Simmons to sit out, refuse to come and play, say he doesn't want to be in the city anymore, a city full of fans that are already against him after the Eastern Conference semifinals, for him to come back and play in Philly, I'm pretty sure Ben Simmons could hit a game-winning half-court 3 and he would get booed by the Sixers fan base. That's how I feel like that game would go. It would be really, really unique, and that's another thing that could happen in a super unique situation. What I thought from the beginning was going to happen was I always expected Ben Simmons to get traded. It felt like at the end of that game 7 that a trade was coming. It didn't feel like the relationship was salvageable, and it really just kind of felt like a monumental shift in the mindset of both the fan base, the front office, and his teammates, that they felt like he should have done more. He's not improving. We need him to be better. And if he's not going to be better, then he's gone. But I really thought it was going to be a James Harden type situation. I thought it was going to be, he comes into the season, he plays maybe for like a week, or in the offseason if they find a trade package, cool. If they don't, comes in for about a week and keeps playing until either he publicly says, I want to trade, and then they sit him out until they find one, or there's a situation where a trade comes up early enough in the season where they're like, okay, we'll trade for Ben Simmons, whether a Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal or another star trade shows up, or even if the Sixers just decide that this isn't worth the headache anymore, we're going to take a package that we already have, or maybe even a team starts off hot and is like, or starts off poorly maybe even, and they're like, we're going to switch something up with Ben Simmons, or we want to bring him in to kind of shift things and kind of get us going in another direction. That's the way I really thought this whole thing was going to go down. And maybe that is now the way it is going to go. Maybe, once again, like I said, I still would not be surprised, or I probably still would be surprised if Ben Simmons plays another game as a Sixer. It just doesn't feel like something that can happen unless it's a road game, in like a whole Kyrie Irving type situation where he doesn't play home games, because I don't think they want to subject Ben to that if they're trying to keep him playing. I don't think Ben wants to be a part of that, and I don't even know if the fans want to see that, or maybe the fans do. Maybe the fans want to give him one last heavy boo before they boo him as a member of another team. I don't really know. But what I am surprised about is how quickly this all turned around. When he said he was going to sit out, I was like, okay, I could fully see him sitting out until he gets traded. And then the fines start rolling in, and he puts his house up for sale. That's another thing. I was like, he's not coming back. He doesn't have anywhere to live at this point. I would maybe not kill. I would pay a lot of money to be a fly on the wall in that Sixers locker room when Ben Simmons comes back in, because I'm not really sure what you do in this situation. Ben Simmons fully said, I don't want to play with you guys anymore. There was reports that he doesn't want to play with Joel Embiid. I would love to see and figure out what that conversation would be like. A report came out, I believe, after the game tonight where Joel Embiid said he hasn't talked to Ben like one-on-one since the end of the season. This is a super fractured relationship, and I'm really not sure how it's salvageable, which makes this even more interesting. I know the Sixers want to get him to report, and ultimately I think it is best for both sides in terms of the Sixers finding more trade value for him, Ben Simmons building up his own trade value, so that way both sides can cut this toxic relationship off before it gets any worse. I think that makes sense. Where it doesn't really make sense is, what is the locker room going to think? The reports have been that the teammates, the coaching staff, the front office want him back. And it makes sense. He does make them a better basketball team. They're not a better team with Ben Simmons not playing. You take his defense out of the equation, you take his playmaking out. They're not a better team. They're just not. Do they maybe need a player who fits better? Sure, yeah. But if you just fully take him out of the equation, they are a worse team, and they want to be as good as possible. You don't want to waste another year of Joel Embiid's prime. He was just an MVP candidate and maybe would have won MVP if he was fully healthy last season. However, going into this year, you just had a disappointing end to the season. You need to continue to build this roster and have great performing seasons while Joel Embiid is healthy and in this insane prime of his. He could win an MVP this season if your team once again is one of the top seeds in the Eastern Conference, which I think they very well can be. The Sixers being the 1 seed last year was not a fluke. They were an incredible team, and especially when you throw in the fact that the Brooklyn Nets have this whole Kyrie Irving situation going on, that's a team taken out of the equation. Now it's really, I think, right now between the Sixers and the Bucks, if Ben Simmons played, to be between that 1 seed. If you're able to find a good trade for him, cool, before he reports. But I really don't know what the chemistry is going to be like. And maybe this has a positive impact. Maybe it's like they reconcile at least a little bit. Maybe they kind of set aside their differences. They go, okay, we're going to be amicable. We're just going to play alongside each other until a trade comes about. And maybe it ends up finishing off better than it could have. Maybe they come in, they make amends, and they say, we know you don't want to be here. We know you don't want to be here, and we know that you don't want to play here. So let's just play through this. We want to move on from you as well. Let's just play through this until a trade comes around and kind of both sides chill out a little bit. Things simmer down, and maybe the relationship doesn't become so fractured. Maybe there is a rise in his trade value because Ben Simmons kind of seems like things are going okay. Obviously, they want to trade him, but if they're not in any rush and Ben Simmons is actually playing, his trade value can go up. This can be really beneficial for both sides because Ben Simmons, while he doesn't want to be in Philly, he wants to get out as quick as possible. And the best way for him to get out is to play well for the season, maybe help the Sixers win a bunch of games and show that he can be an impactful and winning player. Maybe you get to the point where a team with a star player starts really poorly and they demand out, or a team says, we're not sure if this is quite our year, starting off like maybe 10, 15 games into the season. Ben Simmons is a guy that we can trade for, and now that we know that this season isn't going to work out well, maybe we trade for him. Maybe we just switch things up, or we start building our team around him as a centerpiece. These are all situations that can happen. So ultimately, I think there is a lot of positive to come from this. The negative part would be if Ben Simmons comes in, teammates don't want him to be there, he doesn't want to be there, and things get really ugly in the locker room. Maybe that even unites the rest of the Sixers that will stay on the roster after Ben Simmons gets traded. Maybe that even has some positive repercussions in the end. But I think right now, things are moving in the right direction for both sides. I think this benefits both sides mainly. If you want to get a trade for him, he's got to build his trade value. He's got to show that he's willing to play, and that is the best way to do so, is having him start off by reporting getting a COVID test. This might seem like a small step, but ultimately, in this whole saga that we all pretty much want to be over at this point, we're all just waiting for the Ben Simmons trade notification from Woj or Shams. Maybe this is a step in the right direction. Maybe it comes sooner than later now, because he is reporting in Philly and he is going to be there. Let me know what you think about all this. Like I said, I know the Ben Simmons stuff keeps coming up. I'm sorry. I don't want you guys to have to keep listening to it, but it is something that's big news. He is a big name player. And so I'm going to keep talking about it because y'all have told me you like these videos, I guess. So I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you made it this far. Drop your thoughts on the Ben Simmons situation, where we're at right now in this whole saga in the comment section below. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later. Real one, say back.